Cool. All right. Well, what a fun group. Thanks for coming, everyone. We'll get started here. This is going to be pretty informal in the sense that ask questions as we go, as they come up. There's no bad question. We've probably had all the same questions. So first things first, we're going to talk about what the heck even is cyclocross? How do you prepare to race it? Practice tips, race day tips. We'll answer any and all questions. Melissa's coming in right now. She also races cross with us. And then Kim should be coming too, who races. So there'll be various different viewpoints as well. I figured I'd put in here a little bit about me in case people don't know who I am. I currently race cyclocross in the Cat 3 category. I got kicked out of Cat 4 last year for too many points. So I am holding down the back of the fort in women's 1, 2, 3 right now. So that's what I do. I had a lot of fun last year doing both the Mass series and the Connecticut series. So doing the Connecticut series again this year and a couple Mass races. They didn't all work with my schedule. I'm a member of Stage 1 Cycling, which is run out of this shop. We'll get into benefits of being on teams and things like that. But it is a cool added benefit being on a team. So I race out of this team for all my cycling stuff. And then we do stuff with them with Women on Wheels. Brian's been a big supporter of this. So that's who I am. As far as what is cyclocross? So has anyone not been to a race, ever looked it up?
I have
Never been to a race. Okay. So we're looking at like a 1.5 to 2 mile completely closed course. So it's taped with stakes for that whole distance. Depending on your category, depends on how long you race. So usually 30 to 50 minutes, you'll see a 60-minute race at like the very elite levels. Some of the young kiddos race like 1 lap, however long that takes them. So that's what we're looking at for distance and time. We'll get in a little bit to how the time works in a second. As far as what you can expect in a race, pretty much anything goes in cyclocross, whether it's riding your bike, running your bike, sand, mud, barriers, really steep uphills, really steep downhills, logs, you name it, people come up with it. Flyovers, they're like big steep things you bike up, across, and down. What else have we seen?
Yes, it could be in the grass or in the woods.
Grass, woods, yeah. Yeah. And so if you're curious about a race that isn't one we're doing, ask, because one of us has probably done it and we can tell you what to expect. Blount Park in Mass is like mountain biking. If you hate mountain biking, you probably shouldn't do that race. It was better this year. It was still a lot of mountain biking. Okay. So there's things, yeah, there's things like that where like hydro is like a grass field, right? Like, so there's some things that you're like, that's maybe not me. Let me try something else first. We can help with that. So pretty much anything goes. I have a funny picture here of a ginormous puddle. That was like a real thing a few years ago. So there's that. As far as type of bike, so there is a true cyclocross bike, which looks like a road bike with 33 mil tires. So a little wider than what you maybe think of a road bike, a traditional road bike tire. Drop bars. It doesn't really visually look different from a road bike or a drop bar gravel bike.
The fork's a little bit wider, so
yeah.
Like I know for the kids, we were looking at used bikes, and Brian told us not to get a road bike. So
yeah, so like I mean, you want probably like disc brakes if we're looking at some of these things, just to help because of the surfaces. The 33 mil tire thing is it's a UCI thing. Again, for us just starting out, those things really don't matter. If you're racing around here, we're going to welcome hybrid bikes. We're going to welcome gravel bikes. We're going to welcome mountain bikes. Now, you don't want to ride a road bike because you're not going to have fun and you're going to pop your tire probably the second you get off the start line. But again, as you advance, some of these things matter a lot more. But to just get started, just bring what you have. You'll see all sorts of things in like the Cat 4 or 5 races because people need to try it before they want to invest in anything. So there is a true cyclocross bike. It has kind of different gearing than maybe your gravel bike would. So there are some slight differences. as you get into it. But to start, bring what you have. Any questions so far?
I have a
Yes.
So if I had a gravel bike,
Mhm.
but then I also have a mountain bike that is lighter than my gravel bike, what would be better for like the obstacles and I guess the whole course overall?
It probably depends. Like if you're comfortable on your gravel bike, I would say probably still bring that because it's gonna have a skinnier tire. In theory, it's faster even if it's heavier. But if you're not totally comfy on it, bring your mountain bike.
Okay.
Or bring both and ride one lap on each bike and then decide.
You can free ride too, so you can
Yeah.
check them both out. My son is a pretty fast kid, and last year he's racing in his hardtail and liked it better than his cross bike, and this year he likes his cross bike better, so. He thinks
Yeah.
every race he didn't win last year, it's because he rode the wrong bike.
So, yeah.
Last year I rode my mountain bike on one of the Rocky Hill training races, and I was the only one on a mountain bike, but I didn't really care and nobody else really cared. So I
No.
didn't have a cross bike to ride this year. I bought one from a friend, but yeah, it was still fun. And honestly, on the downhill, I was really happy I had my mountain bike. So.
She crushed it on that mountain bike.
I love it. I love it.
Yesterday at Mansfield Hollow, even in like the Masters men's races, I saw like a half dozen mountain bikes, so
Yeah.
a lot of people choose mountain.
Yeah. So, any other questions on Zoom?
I'll personally share. This is Kim. Sorry, and I'm on my way there. I'm gonna get to airline at some point. But I personally, so I have a mountain bike. My mountain bike has more suspension, and I do have a gravel bike. I highly prefer the gravel bike for cyclocross, just because I like to jump barriers rather than pop them, and I find that much more fun for me than the full suspension mountain bike. So just putting
Yeah.
that out there.
Cool. Thank you.
Is that a meeting?
We didn't answer your question, but we gave you a lot of opinions.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll probably ride one lap of each.
Yeah.
Cause I did
So-
do like one clinic where I brought my gravel bike and I felt like, oh my God, it's so heavy.
Yeah.
And my mountain bike is just a hardtail, like a carbon hardtail, so
Right.
it's significantly lighter,
Right.
but it's not the right geometry. It's
Yeah,
obviously a
yeah,
mountain bike tire.
Yeah.
So
And honestly, it'll probably be very course dependent too,
Yeah, definitely.
right? Like some courses that are more woodsy or if it's really muddy, that was where Orson got hung up last year. It was at Moraine and he was like, what bike do I ride?
Right, he ended up using the mountain bike because it was raining
Yeah.
so hard, and I think he made a good choice on that one, but his bike is a very light carbon hardtail
Yeah.
racing, like cross-country racing bike. So.
Yeah. But yeah, and like ride both and whatever you're more comfortable with is like what I would say. So
And bring them both to the race and stick the other one in the pit, and you can always. switch if you
exactly,
want to.
exactly. All right, so as far as gear, we're already talking about this, right? So you need a bike. And as far as what to wear, like your normal cycling things, if you think of like a traditional road kit, again, if you're more comfortable and more of a mountain bike style kit, rock on something a little looser. But what you wear is really no different from any other kind of riding. So you got your bike, your helmet, some
Think
kind of
about getting
outfit.
on and off your bike though, because
Mhm.
I've worn pants that like I end up getting caught around my seat getting on and off, so.
Yeah,
It, in some
That's
ways.
a good point.
it's better.
yeah, yeah. And then I think someone had a question about as far as shoes, like clipping in or not. Again, I think that advice would be like any advice I would give someone from any kind of riding. Like if you're more comfortable on flat pedals to start, that's fine. Again, you're getting on and off. So if you've got some really big spiky pedals and you don't want to beat up your shins more than you might already, that's something I would consider. And again, as you advance, it's clipping in, but I would say that's just like any other kind of cycling, right? Where it's like, yeah, you clip in, you're a little stronger, the hills get a little easier. Especially I'm thinking yesterday, that super steep, punchy hill where like the last two pedal strokes, you're like losing your back tire trying to get up over it. Felt like clipping in was like, gave you that power to help a bit. But again, if you're more comfortable on flats to start, I don't think that's not a problem.
I only had flats and I did not make it over that. I'm not sure what to do about it.
Yeah, that was a tough hill.
Made it 3/4 of the way up, and then I.
Yeah. It was that last
ran the
route.
last couple feet.
Yeah. Elaine, did that answer your question?
Yeah, I'm kind of slow at clipping in. I have those weird pedals that are like half flat on one side and then clip in on the other
Yeah.
side. And so it's, in a way it's good, but in a way it's tricky because you put your foot down and it may or may not be on the side that you want it to be on. And I find that it just takes me a while to get myself organized. And I think that would be sort of distracting.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
we have to get off for obstacles all the time anyway. I just wondered
Right.
if maybe I'd feel better on flat.
Yeah. And I think like, because you did a race last year, you've experienced it, like it's worth trying. And then is it like a much better experience for you with flats? Then perfect, right? Like, again, as you're getting your feet wet and figuring out if you even like this crazy thing, I think it's like just try all the different things, right?
I will say too, so this is Kim again. I really love riding flats, mountain biking. I love tech though, and I would say the one sport that I would not race clipped in, but my husband would argue with me, is enduro. I love being I love being on flats for enduro when you're going downhill. But I do wear clips during cyclocross. Conditions really play in. So muddy conditions, if you're already, which I struggle even now, I love clips when I'm gravel biking, but when I'm cyclocrossing, if you're muddy, it does like become kind of distracting and annoying. And what I would say is those pedals with one flat side, one clip that you could still ride, you still have the platform, might actually be great for cyclocross because then you have that option. I actually might try that out.
All right. So questions about any of that? Okay. So how to practice. So all sorts of fun creative things. So mounting and dismounting is huge. Like I can't think of a course where I haven't gotten off the bike in cyclocross. Like that's just going to happen. I have found dismounting, getting good at that, a lot easier to learn than mounting. That's an area I still really struggle and I'm quite slow at. But those are things you can practice. One of the juniors on stage one told me once, like, go on the airline trail, like one of these rail trails, and just get on and off 10 times, right? Get on, pedal for a few strokes, get off, get back on, and just practice that repetition. So that's like a big thing that you're gonna have to do. And again, you're gonna be slow at it at first, and who the heck cares? I'm still very slow at it. It's like, it's just, it is what it is, but that's something that you wanna like play around with. Like you will have to get off your bike, and most likely more than once, I would say, is pretty standard. Barriers, so those are gonna be some little like wooden platforms varying various heights. That you run over. It's usually 2 in a row. You have to pick up your bike, run over them, get back on your bike. It's really fun to watch the really good guys do this. And some of the girls, they can hop the barriers. That's pretty cool. Very, very
And
advanced.
some of the really good folks get off their bike and run over them and get back on, and they don't even lose speed.
Yeah.
doing it. I don't
Yeah.
like that.
Like very, very fast, like that quick footwork stuff. So again, just about every course is gonna have a set of barriers, 2 in a row. But that's something you can, again, you can easily practice this at home, set up something, even little log or something visually, just to be like, I need to hop over this and get back on my bike.
The Brooks said just put 2 sticks in.
Yeah.
I think the barriers have to be at least 12 feet apart,
Mhm.
so it could be longer than that, but 12 feet apart is like the minimum. So
Yeah.
just set up sticks and practice getting off before and
Yep.
running through it and getting on it.
And the most of the time, there's going to be a set of like man-made barriers, but there are courses where there are logs or things that a lot of people will have to like get off and run up. Again, more advanced folks can hop a lot of things, but guessing that's none of us. Sand pits, that's, you'll see at some courses, not all courses, big old sand things. As far as riding that, I think a lot of it depends on the sand, if it's raining or not, what race you are. You'll notice a lot in cross, the course changes over the day as people ride it. And maybe what you rode in pre-ride is not rideable now in the course. Yesterday, taking an outside line for one of the things. I think I rode it once or twice, and by like the 3rd or 4th lap, the outside line was all rutted out, and everyone was like, go the inside line, and that was super rideable. So, you know, sand, sometimes sand is rideable, sometimes it's not. It is a different feeling. riding it, but when you fall in sand and it's
And-
not a big deal.
And then for the first race of the day, and then 200 people ride on it.
Yeah.
It's very different. in the
Yeah.
afternoon, too.
Yeah. So, another thing to practice is cornering. So you'll find a lot of courses with, you know, these tight kind of loop-de-loop type U-turns. Whether that's in the woods, whether they just create that with the tape. So cornering is a big thing. Intervals, so cross, if you guys do any other kind of racing, I'm not sure. I come from triathlon where I go race for 5.5 hours. It's slow and steady. Then you go cyclocross and I'm racing 50 minutes kind of all out. So like right off the line, it's pretty punchy, it's pretty fast, your heart rate's high. There may be parts you settle into the course, but it's a very punchy, high redlining type effort. So that's where intervals are important. You're gonna see some kind of hills, some are rideable, some are not, you have to run up. This year, of course, like Guilford at the apple orchard, it's gonna be super hilly. It's on an apple orchard. Like that's just naturally gonna be a hillier course than some of the other ones. Another thing I didn't write on here is like off cambers, which is on my mind because there was one yesterday and it still kind of scares me. So those are like side hills that you ride. Again, there will be lines that are ridden, but it may not always be the best line. Sometimes with those, people will put one foot out. Sometimes people can ride a line. Again, it just depends on the course. And this is why pre-riding is so important.
That's
'Cause
what
you
I
can
did
learn a
yesterday,
lot.
is On my outside pedal, I
Yeah.
put my foot on it and I just kind of
Yeah.
scooted
Is that
across
what
it.
you're doing in this picture?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
Yep.
that's an off camber.
Yep.
part,
Yeah, it's like a
right?
hill.
Right.
Like a side hill. Yep. And like I said, sometimes those things are very rideable. Other times, if it's pouring rain, that's going to be a very different experience. So yeah, another thing I started doing this year, during some of my running workouts is I do stair reps, just up and down stairs for a minute, prepping for some of that, just like a different type interval. So those are some of the things we'll be practicing if you come to practice with us. Questions about that? We're all good so far? All right, so what to expect race day? So pre-riding, you've heard us say it 8,000 times already, like pre-ride. It is the most beneficial thing. I try to do at least 2 laps before my actual race. You kind of have to time things to get there. I try to get, whenever my race is, I try to get there 2 races ahead of time. And I'll ride laps. We can talk about scheduling more when we get to a race. But I try to get there 2 races before mine to warm up, check out the course, all that stuff. But pre-riding is nice because you can go slow, you can look at stuff, you can stop, you can go back, you can do it, and you can ride 5 laps if you want to. You do only have a small window between each race to do it, so that's something to keep in mind. Other venues will have like the day before. Sometimes they'll do a course preview. Pain in the Neck is happening this coming weekend. They're doing a clinic that morning. So I think it's like at 7:30 in the morning. I've got it here at the end of the PowerPoint. Maybe 7:15. Yeah, we'll double check the time, but they'll do a clinic like before the race day even starts just to help people. And that they have one of the best cyclocross racers in America leading that. So that would be a pretty cool experience. And they'll help you walk through things and give you pointers. Some of you may know Colleen Jost. She did a clinic last year at a race we went to in Mass, and she like loved it. She thought it was so helpful. It really like eased her nerves having like someone explain things and give her some tips and tricks. So yeah. If there's clinics, a lot of times they're cheap and or free, definitely do those. So that's pre-riding. As far as like what race you sign up for, that's all based on categories. So assuming outside of Melissa, you guys and Kim, you guys really haven't raced, you're gonna be in like the Cat 4/novice or 4/5. I think each race kind of calls it something different. But the categories will be that 4, 5, or 4. Is it novice that they're calling it?
Yeah, Cat 5 is novice.
Yeah. And
And so
then-
you always want cat 5 if you're a beginner.
Right,
And sometimes they'll lump cat 5 with other numbers, but cat
Yeah.
5 is the,
yeah. So everyone, if you're new to cross or have only done 1 or 2 races, you'll be in Cat 5, but all of the races, we're gonna recommend the 4s and 5s race together.
I was looking at the pain in the neck,
Mhm.
registration, and I think it was like cat 4, 5, and 40 enough women.
So that's a great question. Masters is the most deceiving thing ever, because everyone's like, yeah, I want to race masters because those are people my age. Well, let me tell you about those master women. They are really freaking
and the men
fast.
too.
Yeah, it's very deceiving. So my recommendation would be to race the 4-5. I think Elaine had that question for me
I
too,
did.
at some point. Yeah. And again, it seems like such a good idea until you see these ladies race. They're like serious.
Kate Towers told me she waits, she doesn't sign up right away, she waits until a few other people sign up.
To
She
see
goes in and
who.
there's a race predictor button in Bike Reg, like in the drop down, you can see who's registered, and then the line after that says race predictor, and if you click on that, it'll, like, every time you race a cyclocross race, you get points. So if you're brand new, you've never raced, you have 999 points, and the faster you are, the lower your points are. So you can look at the points of the people who have already signed up and
Yeah.
see where you belong.
Yeah. But I definitely think for your first race, I would race the 4-5, or at least for your first season, probably. And
And
then
sure, like-
just
Yeah. And this is Kim again. I don't know if this is, I don't know if I'm just talking to the wrong people, but my understanding is like cyclocross is a little more serious about points. Like you can sign up for a harder class in like mountain biking cross country, but for cyclocross, you kind of have to start in that novice area
Yeah.
to earn enough points to race up. So
right.
you actually are kind of required to start as a novice.
Yeah, yeah. And I would say if you probably looked at the categories of like the Masters women that signed up, they're probably 3-4 racers would be my guess. Like winning Cat 4s could play in like the 1, 2, 3
I
race.
think you can sign up for a cat 4 without upgrade points too, but I think
Yeah.
if you want to sign up for a high, like a 3, 2, or 1, you have to have the upgrade points.
And you don't want to race Cat 3, speaking from experience. All right, so that's category. So we're recommending everyone to sign up for the 4-5. Like Melissa was mentioning, you get points. So the way they line you up to start is based on your points. The lower the points, the better. Where this gets a little different is the series. So like I was mentioning, the Connecticut and the Mass series. So the Connecticut series is called Project Mayhem. We just did our first race that was called up by our cross results points. Well, the next race, they're going to start with the series points. So there's benefits to racing series. The call-ups are important because if you have a front row start, that is helpful. That's beneficial. Now, you guys are just starting and you're like, please put me in the back of the race. I do not want to do that. And you have 999 points, or Elaine, I don't know how many points you got in the race you did last year, but chances are you're going to be not the first row, so you can be at ease with that.
I think you have to have 5 races before they give you like better, I think they take an average of
Yeah.
5. So I don't, if you only have 1 race, I don't.
Yeah.
In the back, no matter
Yeah.
what your points were.
Yeah. So you don't need to stress about that. So they're going to call you up based on that. Anyone who's brand new is going to start in whatever the last row is. Now, some of these races aren't big. There may only maybe 2 rows or 3 rows, right? You'll see us women tend to have a little smaller fields than some of the guys. So they have ginormous
Something in
fields.
the middle might be nice. We had 6 women in the cat 4-5 last week. The men had 60.
Yeah.
Which is a
Wow.
huge field, and they had the 15 to 18-year-old boys race at the same time, so there were.
A lot
like,
of, yeah.
I don't know, 90 guys
Yeah.
racing at the same time.
So we don't have to worry about that. But then as you get into it, it can be a little frustrating because you're like, I'm just by myself the whole time. Like I want to race with people.
Yeah.
But so the good thing is you can be at ease. You're not going to start with 60 people. Like that's just not going to happen.
Yeah, their races are like, their starts
Yeah.
are scary.
Yeah, definitely. So that's call ups. When we get to the number of laps, so like I said, it's a timed thing. You guys race 30 or
We
40?
did 30 this year.
30 minutes this year. So what happens is you all do a lap. and they time it. And then whatever the fastest person is, they do an average of how many laps you're gonna do. So say the first person comes through at 10 minutes, you guys are probably gonna do 3 laps. They have a little lap card next to the finish line, so you know how many laps you're gonna do, but you won't see that until we'll do a full first lap, and then when you come through on your second, you'll see the lap card. The other caveat to that is in the races we do, they let everyone do the full time. You're just stopped on the leader's lap. So if you get lapped by the fastest person, that's okay. You're just going to do one less lap than that person. So they don't, in fancy people racing, they pull you off of the course if you get lapped. They don't do that here. So you get to all finish. Yeah, that's like UCI, that's like very advanced, but here they want it to be welcoming. Yeah, they won't do that here. So everyone is out there for the full time, but if you get passed by the leader, you're just gonna finish with the leader. So there'll be a bell, or the official will come tell you you're done. It's like not a big deal, and people get lapped all the time, and it's not a big deal. Like, especially depending on, with women, they tend to throw you in with like, it's like the 1, 2, 3 racing and the 40 plus racing and this racing. So there's a lot of different levels and people. But
How do
just-
they score that then? If you, was it the whole time?
yeah, so yeah, you'll still like if you guys go on crossresults.com, you can look us up, right? Type in my name on there. You'll see like they'll show you like your place or whatever. If you click the specific race, like if you looked up Mansfield Hollow yesterday, you can see everyone's lap times. And if people, okay, it was 5 laps and you did 4, you just have 1 less time, but you still get a score. It's not like a DNF or anything. It's just the scores based on your placing. So that's the
If you
time.
want to look at the Masters women's racing yesterday, I know some people got lapped there, so you could see how they did
Yeah.
it. And the 4-5, we all finished on the same one.
Yeah. And I think I was last in the 1, 2, 3, and I did all the laps. So that's a bad race to look at too. But yeah, so like you can poke around on there and see. So like, it's not like you did not finish or anything. You just do 1 less lap. Okay.
That's one thing I really like about cyclocross for
Yeah.
starting out racing, because mountain biking, you're out there for the full number of laps, no matter how you're doing. In cyclocross, you know, I've only got a half hour, I've only got a 45-minute
Yeah.
race, and you know how long that's going to take.
And they stick to it because if you look at the schedule, it's very like there's no room to go over and we run out of daylight and all this stuff. So they stick to that schedule. There's not like, you're not going to be hung out there for 50 minutes because they were feeling generous. Like you will finish in the allotted amount of time. So another thing is a pit. So most likely starting out, you have 1 bike and 1 set of wheels. As things get more advanced, people put another bike or another set of wheels in the pit. So what that is, as you can imagine, things like flat tires and mechanicals may be a little more prevalent in this style of racing because of what we're doing. So that's a space where, you know, say you brought your mountain bike and your gravel bike, you're riding one, you have the other one in the pit. You get a flat tire, you run to the pit, you have to still follow the course, but you could switch out bike and go back. So that's what the pit is. And some races have neutral support. Some don't, it just kind of depends if they get a sponsor for it or not.
I think a lot of the races have what's called a double-sided pit.
Yeah.
So you can, like, if your course is 2 miles, there'll be like 1 mile on each side. So you can get into the pit from either direction. So you don't have to run the whole 2 miles.
Yeah.
If you get a flat,
Right.
you just have to get to the next spot where you're allowed to enter the pit.
Yeah. So
And
that-
That's another advantage of being on a team is sometimes a team will have team pit bikes. So you know, you kind of support one another and there might be a team bike there for whoever breaks down first.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and some like when Comp Edge goes, they have a whole fleet of extra bikes, right? Like that's so it's just very race dependent. But again, it's one of those things like if you flat, maybe you get help, maybe you don't. Like it's just like any other kind of bike racing, right? I wouldn't say like you could go into the pit and change your flat. I mean, the style of racing is so fast that is that worth it or not? I mean, if you can change a flat in a minute, cool, but I don't know if that's any of us. That's sure not me.
And you can swap for any reason, right? Like you were saying earlier. I
Yeah.
just felt like riding with the bike.
Yeah, yep. Okay, so nutrition,
Because it's raining and this isn't looking.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You could just switch that.
yeah. So nutrition, this is a bit of a tricky thing because you're going so hard for a short period of time, and we'll get Kim and Melissa's opinion on this too. What I do is I have a gel and make sure I drink enough water before my race, and then I race with nothing, and by the time I'm finished, I've got like a white line of grossness around my face and I'm so thirsty. Probably for a 30 to 40 minute race, if you want to carry a water bottle, that's fine. When you pre-ride, figure out a good spot to drink it. Some courses it might be hard to go down and grab the bottle. It just kind of depends. The longer and longer you race, sometimes there's feed zones and you can have someone there handing you a bottle that you can drink and throw. But again, for a 30-minute race, I probably wouldn't stress about that. Do you carry a water bottle?
I've been trying to not carry so much water, because I will drink water on a
Yeah.
30-minute race. Especially the hot one. If it's hot out, I
Yeah.
definitely take one.
I would say, and that is the one time that folks and like Stephanie and my friends it was like 80 something degrees for a race. I think that's
If you have an
different.
afternoon race on a sunny day, like yesterday was gorgeous, not
Mhm.
hot, breezy, I didn't need water.
Yeah.
But the weekend before up at Hydra, you're in the sun for the entire race, and that was a 45-minute race, and I definitely appreciated having water with me on that one.
Yeah.
And you can take your water bottle and only have a couple inches of water. It doesn't have to be full.
Yeah.
So
Well, or Kim, yeah.
yeah, so on my end, I would say if you're a beginner to it, it's a pretty painful style of racing. So if you want, like, start with one water bottle, what I would say, like, I use my gravel bike, so I take one of my cages off. What I would say, you don't want 2 water bottle cages on your bike because of carrying the bike at certain points. You want to be able to do that. So I have one cage on it, and then sometimes it's again the temperature, the conditions. I might have a bottle there, or if they have a feed station, I'll try to set a water bottle somewhere where I know where it is in case I'm desperate. Again, I've probably done the same thing where I'm trying to push myself a little more and have less water. The less weight you have on you for this type of intense race, the better. So, I tend to make sure my nutrition's met before. So I have my little secret weapon of a breakfast, or even it's not even breakfast. If it's after lunch, I'll have it, but it'll be like oatmeal, peanut butter, and chia seeds. I have that like 2 hours before. And then I love my Science and Sport little gels because they don't really need water to hydrate you. So I do that like 30 minutes before, and then I'm good to go, and I can eat anything I want afterwards.
Yeah. So questions on that?
Yeah, for a half hour, 45-minute race, I don't take any nutrition with me.
Yeah.
I just do a water bottle.
That's what I eat a gel before, like I would for a triathlon, like I would for a half marathon, like 20, 30 minutes before, and then race.
My
and
kids will have a
after.
20-minute race, and I'll put like 4 blocks on it.
That's
It's an excuse to eat. I don't know.
Yeah, there's probably
Bottles.
like straight out nutrition talk, but the big thing is like you're gonna be stressing your body pretty hard, so make sure you're like used to whatever you have. I recommend not getting like free handouts and like having that right before, because your stomach might not thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Ice Weasels, where they do all the hand-ups. It's a lot of fun, but I don't want to eat anything
Yeah,
while I'm racing.
yeah.
People are trying to pass you shots and beer and donuts
Yeah,
and
all
bacon
sorts of
and everything.
things.
I'm like, I don't want any of this.
Yeah. Some of these races get a little rowdy.
Yeah, there's the unsanctioned ones that are super fun, and
Yeah.
I'll just say fireball up the nose, like when you're laughing about something while you're racing, is
Maybe not great.
an interesting experience.
We'll talk about what some of those fun races are too. All right, how to pin a race number. So this is important. Wear something you don't mind poking holes through because you're gonna have to poke holes through it. So don't, I don't know, if you just bought a nice new fancy jersey and you don't want to poke a hole through it, don't wear it. You're gonna wear the number on whatever side the officials are going to be. So they'll tell you when you pick up your number, left or right. It's gonna be kind of on the side, as you can see in the picture. And then usually a good way to pin it, if you don't take your jersey off and do it, ask a friend to, and like kind of get in your like cycling position so they can pin it on the side where it will be visible when you're riding. I don't know, ask for help. That's why we're there, to help. I don't know, I made Melissa's kid help me yesterday.
Don't put the safety pin through the hole.
Yeah.
We're all pin buddies. Melissa Felter is always my pinner at any race. I'm
But yeah, the
I'm
pin
more
through the holes.
than anybody.
Yeah.
Like some of the numbers have a hole in each corner, and that's not really where you want to put the pin. You want to put it through the actual paper itself. So like move in a little bit more and
Yeah.
have the pin go through two places.
Because of the rib.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then it'll be flapping around. And I've seen some people put a fifth pin right in the middle to keep it down too, but I've never done it.
Yeah. Okay, so questions about what cyclocross is, what to expect on a race, how to practice before we dive into like where to go to next.
So, well, like the timing, so I was looking at that one, whatever,
Yeah.
that's on Saturday. So like, is that one, do they go all day or do they, like, it just depends?
So the actual race itself, yeah.
Like the race, yeah, like, so could I be there potentially like all day?
No. So I think we race at like 10:50 or
Okay.
9:15,
I race at
9:15. So you race at 9:15. I would recommend if the first race is probably 8:30.
Yes.
I think it is. I would be ready to ride on that course for 8 o'clock to practice. Your first race starts at 8:30. They'll kick you off a few minutes before that. I'd get there at 7:45, get my stuff set up, go ride the course,
Or get there for the clinic. is
or
where
get
we
there
are.
for the clinic, which we'll touch on. And then your race, so you get to ride, you do all that stuff, you decide, but well, then the 8:30 race will go and then your race will go. So you'll need to be ready probably, I would say by like 9 a.m. is when they'll do like first call for staging, which is when they line you all up. So yeah, that, and then when you're done racing, you can leave. You race for your 30 minutes, you say hi and bye and you leave. But there are races that go on all day. It'll go from 8:30 and usually the last race is in the 3 o'clock hour, which is usually the elite men. I think almost
In those,
always.
do you have a number?
And
or you race a couple
It's a
times?
super fun
One
sport to
race.
watch too. So like I highly recommend like sticking around for and cheering for some of the other
Yeah.
races. They're it's super fun and
Yeah.
you've got a good viewpoint at all places. So
Yeah. And this year, so like for Project Mayhem, that's the 7 races in Connecticut. They all nicely listened to us. And so the women race at 9:15 and 10:15. So if you stay for 10:15, then you can see the women's 1, 2, 3, and then the masters race. So you stay one, you can see what a Cat 1 racer looks like. And then the idea was to get all the women there at the same time, which was feedback we
And I
all
asked
sent
to
in
put the
last year.
kids in the middle of the day so that we didn't have the men's race at 8 a.m. and the kids race at 9 a.m. and then the women's race at 2 p.m.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sticking around 6
Yeah.
hours to do my race
Yeah.
after everybody else in that family's done.
Yeah. So we are very, very excited as a group about Project Mayhem this year. And a lot of our friends are race directors in it and they want feedback. They want you guys out there racing. We'll talk about some opportunities here in a minute. But if you go and you're like, wow, this sucked, it didn't feel welcoming, please tell us. Like, we really hope that's not your experience, but
And also, if there's
It's-
anything holding me back from racing,
Yeah.
let us know too, because I mean, there were only 6 women there racing yesterday, and like at the start line, they're like, okay, what can we do to get more women to show
Yeah.
up and actually do this?
and like they do, like I have had phone calls with these people, they do listen to us. So if you feel comfortable talking to me, please do it and the feedback will get to the right people. But it's a very inclusive system. Everyone is welcome. That's another big thing. You'll see on like notes and stuff for races, like we want anyone and everyone to race. So if that is not welcoming to you, please let us know. We're trying hard. Okay, so few last points here. So good first timer races, pretty much anything in the Project Mayhem series we will recommend. So a couple of things to specifically highlight. So the Rocky Hill training series on Wednesdays, we're gonna officially do one of those as a group, but that's a great way to, one, just go watch a race, or two, try it at a very fun, low-key experience. They're training races, there's all sorts of levels of people there, from fast people getting practice to first timers. Even if you just want to go watch, do that. So we have a date set for that. The idea is if you want to ride in it, great. If you just want to watch, great. Just getting you exposed. This weekend, the 14th, is Pain in the Neck Cross, which is one of the Stage 1 airline cycle races. I will not be there, but Melissa will be there. Kim, I think you're going to be there.
Yep, I'm racing, so
Perfect.
I'll be there.
So there's friendly faces. Any of these races you decide to go to, if there is a Stage 1 cycling tent, you are more than welcome to go up to it and use it, even if you do not pay for Stage 1. You can go use the tent. Tell them you're part of Woman on Wheels, you're doing Intro to Cross, you know me, Melissa, Kim, whoever, they will let you in the tent. And hopefully you'll see at least one of us there.
I'll be there all
So
day.
you'll be there all day. So Pain in the Neck is this weekend.
I volunteered to help you.
So and I don't know if Brian's there or anyone knows, but there were some free.
I'm getting there.
I'm
I'm
looking
getting
for it.
there.
Okay.
I'm getting there. Okay, so they're doing a free clinic in the morning. Free clinic for women. Brian is holding spots for women. So please, if you're free, go sign up. It's with Stephen Hyde, who, like I said, is like one of the best American cyclocross racers. He's like, resume is forever long. It's going to be like a super cool experience. If anyone knows Kathy Busha from Hartford Triathlon, she's already signed up. So that's a completely free clinic. Even if you decide not to race, you can still do the clinic
I didn't realize
What?
I was to sign up for the clinic, so is that?
on Bike Reg.
Okay.
I
Two.
didn't show up, so that's
Yeah, I
good.
think when I looked today, it was like.
So you look up like Pain in the Neck. and-
On
BikeReg,
bikereg.com,
and it'll have-
Pain in the Neck, there'll be the clinic. It should be the first thing listed. Second thing, if you do want to race Pain in the Neck, you can also do that for free as a first-time woman. Give me your email. You don't have to decide today, but give me your email. I'll give it to Brian. We can get you signed up and registered. There'll be a free code for the race for Bike Reg. You'll have to pay for your $10 USAC membership, which is like the $15 USAC membership. But Brian says he's willing to give you cash at the race if you show up and race. He just doesn't want to pay out all these USAC memberships and then people don't show up to race.
Right. Is that per race usually?
Yes.
Okay, so if
Yeah.
someone were to want to do it, the option is also yearly?
Yes.
There's an annual license you can buy, which is 150 maybe, something like that.
I think a little
Something
less.
like 10
Yeah.
races.
Yeah, I think you have to do 10 races to make the
Right.
USAC membership worth it.
So it's $15 a race or something like 150 a year. I might not be right on that. But also, if you have a friend who has an annual membership, they give you 3 free one-day license to give to a friend to try out. So like my husband has a membership and then I use his 3 free days for mine, so I don't end up buying.
Yeah. So there's ways around it. So if you want to do, so a few options. Do the Pain in the Neck clinic. That's free for women. Brian is holding spots for that. If you just want to do the clinic, awesome. You don't have to race. If you want to race, you can also do that for completely free. I'll just need your email to make that happen. So that's this weekend. As far as like what we're doing for our intro group, we're going to go to the Rocky Hill training race. That's something you would have to pay for if you decided to race. And then we're going to do the Belltown race, which is our second race that we do with Stage 1 and Airline. And Brian said he would give me a discount code for that. So probably more to come as we get closer to October 20th. We're very focused on the 14th right now. So we got to get the whole team through the 14th.
So would you register, so I'm looking at it,
Yep.
it's got women's 4-5 non-binary, that looks like the
So
That's
then there
kind of
should
what
be,
I trusted you.
yeah,
if you press
so
it.
then there's that drop down
Uh-huh.
and then you'll register under the 4-5.
Okay, yeah, so that's enough.
Yeah. So pretty much I listed a bunch of races on here. If you go on Bike Reg, the majority of the Connecticut and Mass races we have done. There's a few other ones in like New Hampshire and Vermont. I think we probably know folks that have been, those tend to be a little further for us, and there's so much racing right here that I think a lot of us stay right here.
The Massachusetts ones are a lot of fun,
Yeah,
depending on where you live.
They
Some
have
of
a
those
great
races are
scene.
Closer to me than these races.
yeah.
I go to unsanctioned ones because they're super
Yeah.
fun.
So yeah, we've got a couple races that like we put on in stage 1 that we would love to see you guys there. A couple other ones I'll point out. Yeah, the unsanctioned ones are going to be Secret Squirrel and Ice Weasels. So what that means is it's fun. It's a party. They're giving you shots on the course. They're giving you donuts, dollar bills.
Like,
Yeah,
People wear
costumes.
and they
you
have-
usually have a team-based costume. They do the team.
And there'll be people like on unicycles racing.
Yeah.
And it's a fun race.
So Ice Weasels is like the last race of the year in this area, and it's a big old party. It's a lot of fun.
It's so fun.
Secret in Cheshire?
No,
Not this
I
year.
remember driving by it and I was like, what is going on there?
I heard that they had some issues with the town park. this
Yeah.
year, so
Not
maybe-
shocking.
Yeah. And then another good one, if you like to drink beers at Treehouse.
Treehouse is a fun race.
So, and they get like one of the biggest turnouts for non-UCI race in New
It
England.
was like 600 people.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we had
They
like,
actually sold out.
we had like 40 something women
Right.
race in the 4-5. That was awesome.
So how crazy, so do they have all, like, how crazy is that start? Like, say you have 40 people, it's only a 1.5 or 2 mile
So
course.
if you're a beginner, you're gonna be towards the back of that
Yeah,
start.
well, yeah.
And
Anyway, yeah.
anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
What I would say is like,
Like 30 or 40 isn't.
women tend to be a little better. Yeah, women tend to be a little more like mindful because around them. Some of the
Less
men start
aggressive.
can be a little more.
Yeah.
The big starts with kids, because some of them are squirty, and then the big starts with men where there's 100 of them.
Yeah.
50+
So like most of the races, so I think last year the two biggest races for me were Treehouse and Northampton. There was like 40 to 55 of us or something. So the majority,
UCI race?
no.
Okay.
So the majority of them aren't gonna be nearly that big. But yeah, and you spread out pretty quickly. Like there'll probably be some pinch point at the beginning. Like yesterday, there was like a grass and then a pinch point into the woods. So you watch the guys and everyone like stopped essentially, like in the back going into the woods. But with women, there was no big issue. You know, you kind of find your space and like you don't have to be aggressive with your elbows out at the start. Like you can stay on your bike and not make it an intimidating experience. Okay, so those are about races. Again, if you're on Bike Reg looking at races and you're like, hey, I want to do this race because it works with my calendar, reach out. Like guarantee you one of us three
Someone
friendly
there.
faces will be there, or we can tell you who's going to be there. That can be a friendly face.
My son picked out 22 races to do last year.
Oh my God.
Anything within like 3 hours if you're done once. probably.
Yeah, yeah.
Is he doing that many this year?
No.
Oh.
This is like, okay, so that's about racing. So like, again, lots of opportunity with like the stage 1 airline races because we have connections and we want to help people, and Brian wants to help people who owns all of this.
He's walking around outside.
Yeah. But again, any of like the Connecticut races, the Mass races, if you're interested, let us know. We're happy to help. The last big thing I want to touch on is the benefits of being on a club or a team, if we haven't like harped on that enough. To me, first and foremost, it's like the community. It's a friendly face. Like I put these things on because I know you're not going to be like, oh, I found this random cross race, so I'm going to show up by myself, having no idea with what I'm doing and know no one, right? Like it's not going to happen. But if you're like, hey, I know these 5 ladies, maybe I'll go do this thing, more likely to do it. So I think being on a club and a team, the community is huge. And this is my 2nd year on stage 1. I was a freeloader of stage 1 for a year. No, I was. And like, starting to get to know people because I'm racing with them. This is when Nationals was in Connecticut and Brooks was like, come use our tent, come hang out with us, all this stuff. Like, that's what I'm saying. You don't have to pay the membership fee to like be part of the team. Just come hang out with us, enjoy it, see if it's for you.
And then you
That's
kind
what
of
it's about.
build that interest in supporting
Yeah.
what that group is doing. And then that's like,
Yeah.
what I'm saying that.
And our group is incredible, from Ruby, Melissa's daughter, who is how old? 4 years old, up to, you know, Hudson, the high school kid who's winning national championships, to Anthony Becca, who's the really, really fast guy on our team that we all laugh at, but is nice to us. Like
And George, he's like pushing. 70.
George, yeah. So it's like we have all walks of life on the team. There's people riding for fun. There's people seriously racing. There's Kim's who like, yeah, I'm gonna go to the fun race. There's people going to nationals. They're like, we have it all.
And
Kelly's a
that's-
national
And that's the thing,
champion.
what's cool is that, like, you can follow your chapters of life. So like, I have 2 girls that they are phenomenal. If you ever see them mountain biking, and like, my daughter just learned how to drop at 8 at Kingdom Trails. But if you talk to her, she says, we bike because mom and dad do. Like, they love gymnastics, they love cross country. So I am pulled in like 10 different directions, but my team's still here. So when they're like on to their next chapter, I could race competitively again and like still be a part of the team.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool how it's really fun to be able to do that.
And we're obviously partial to stage 1, but there are a bunch of other teams out there. We're friends with a lot of people on other teams with the kids and everything. If you have kids, we have tons of kids programs. So that's like another thing. And then there's like the discounts and things like that, that are the added benefits of being on a team. Or I come in here because I broke my bike and I'm racing again in 3 days, and Brian does everything he can to fix it so I can go race in 3 days. So there are those like added benefits as well. Same thing with the USAC membership. You know, if you're doing enough races to make that worth it, you get benefits through that, just like any other federation thing, discount codes, things like that. So again, no pressure at all to be on a team. We will welcome you to hang out with us no matter what, but there are added benefits, and it's really a lot of fun. I think stage 1 does a great job of being inclusive, supporting one another, staying for the races. I mean, the kids yesterday were like begging their moms to like stay and watch the next few races, and I think that's super cool. Yeah.
My
So-
kids will be at the race Saturday.
There you
but not
go.
racing.
But not racing.
So if anyone have little ones, my actually Katie's online, and we're trying to get her on Saturday.
There you go.
And
Perfect.
My daughter knows their son really well.
So then I have a link here of a slide here of a bunch of different links. So the first one is Kim Dubord. She does a bunch of YouTube videos of GoPro footage from her races. She races a lot with us. She's done stuff for Women on Wheels, so some of you may know her. So there's some YouTube stuff there. There's the Bike Reg link, which is where all the race registration is. So if you go look up like cyclocross, filter it to New England, you'll see all the stuff.
Drop them and you can just pick cyclocross, and you can choose either a region or within however many miles of your zip code, and it'll give you a whole list.
Yep. There's a link there if you like decide you want to join stage 1, and then the USA cycling link as well. The next slide is about our intro to cross schedule. So we're going to do practice Wednesday night if you can make it. We're changing the location to the Haddam Neck Fairgrounds, which is where the race is going to be this weekend. Another added benefit of being on a team is you can usually go ride the course before it's even the race.
And
So-
especially if you want to help with the course set up.
Want to learn all
Yeah.
about that. So we're gonna change practice to the Haddam Neck Fairgrounds. I sent the email, so unless you registered like afternoon today, just let me know and I can send it again. So we'll go there to practice. It officially starts at 5:30. To be honest, I probably can't get there till 5:45 with work, but Brooks will be there at 5:30, and he's gonna be helping us with the skills. I called him in because he's a lot better of a coach in that sense with skills. And he's great. He coaches our kids. He's a wonderful human. So he will be there. I'll be there at 5:45 or so. If you're running late for work, no big deal, still come. So that's September 11th. Then September 25th, we'll do that Wednesday night CCAP race. Again, if you want to race, awesome, register, there's the link. If you just want to go watch, do that as well. I will be there, to be determined if I'm gonna race or watch. See how the week brings. Then October 9th, we'll do practice again. We're saying at Machamutis, probably a little TBD. We've got a few locations, but they're all kind of in this general Portland, East Hampton, Haddam area. And then October 20th is our Belltown race. So again, if you want to race, awesome. We most likely will have some discount code as we get closer. Again, everyone's preoccupied with this weekend. So 9:15 is the women's 4 and novice, 10:15 is the 1, 2, 3, which is what I'll race. Or you can just come and watch and volunteer and hang out and cheer. We welcome that as well.
We
You're
have
still
some
too
stage one folks who
intimidated.
Don't race at all and.
Yes.
They come and hang out and like.
Kim
volunteer for us,
Klauser
Yeah.
is a perfect example.
Yeah. And
Um,
volunteering is fun too.
yeah, or even if one of the other races is like close to your house or something and you want to go. I'm racing all the Connecticut series, but next weekend, so I'll be all,
I'll be at all of them. I don't know if I doubt I'm racing them all,
but you'll be
I
there.
was gonna say, just so folks know, with Rocky Hill, it's intended to be kind of a training race, but I will say it's usually open start, so it's
Yeah.
everyone. So you're racing with men and women. I know, just so you know, like, it could be a good place to start, but if you want to watch, that's okay too. I totally like messed my daughter up for cyclocross by like putting her in one, and she absolutely hated it and will not race cyclocross again. So I just want to warn you that it's a lot more. I love it because the guys are out there and they're cheering you on, and everyone's super friendly. It's
Yeah.
not too crazy, but it was really intimidating for like my
Yeah.
my
Probably
10-year-old
more
and
intimidating
9-year-old
than a
at the time.
4 or 5
Yeah,
start.
I would say that like
And
the
that's
women's
September
races-
25th one.
that's the
That's
25th
Rocky
one.
Hill.
That's on Wednesdays.
Oh.
So I
Is
just
it
wanted
every
you to
Wednesday?
know that, like, before you get there and you're like, whoa, because that's kind of what I did to my daughter, and she was kind of like,
Yeah, since after work, they do one kids race, one adult race. And so
Yeah.
every,
because it gets dark super
Is
early.
it every Wednesday?
Every
Or
other
Wednesdays. It's
kind of-
maybe
And
2 Wednesdays this week is off.
Okay. And then the last slide here is about that free clinic this weekend. And again, if you want to race this weekend, you can also do that free. You just need to send me your email. All right. What do we have for questions? Comments? I won't say concerns. That's what I tell my counselor.
Well, I was riding with a few folks the other day, and they were masters, shall we say, and they were acting like it was crazy to, be over 50 and race cross because people get hurt, and obviously you can get hurt in any kind of bike racing. But is it higher injury than mountain biking, say?
Not the mountain biking.
I wouldn't
I mean,
say.
you're when I talk, this is Kim, and when I'm talking, and Katie will know this too, I like some extreme forms of mountain biking. So, that's probably prone more. I would say if you're fit and you're cycling a lot, it's fun and you take it as fun. I had one fall last year, got hurt, it was in gravel. So you are in mixed terrain. So it's gonna be a difference in terrain, you're gonna be hopping barriers, but you're kind of taking it your own pace. I would say that it's probably less conducive to injury than it's just the intensity of going around the course. So
I like the
I
thing
know.
that I think is nice about cross is like you're supposed to get off your bicycle and run things, right? Like no one is ever gonna look at you. You're like, oh my God, she got off her bike. So like that's what I like about it because you don't have to stress about that. Like there will be chances are if you're walking something, someone else is too, right?
and you are
So that's what I
mean,
like about it.
I guess what I would say is that I've heard of some people having like shoulder injuries or like you may fall. Like that's likely going to happen at some point, and there can be knee and shoulder type things from going downhill on a skinny pedal bike that doesn't have as much handling potential as like a mountain bike. But it's kind of like where you take it, and like Hunter said, if you're not comfortable riding down a hill, you can make the choice to run down it.
Yeah.
You're totally okay. So, I think it depends on your choices, how prone you are to.
But Elaine, what I would say for you is like, because you do have the mountain bike background, I think that is helpful. Like, you know how to get up off your saddle and off the back of the seat, and like, you know what to do with your body, maybe more so than like a true road rider. So I think there is a lot of benefit for having that mountain bike background. And then I mean, I still think every course there's something on it that I'm like, ooh, that's a little scary. But like yesterday to me, that was the off camber, not the mountain bikey sections. Like, whereas I don't think Colleen would care I say this, but Colleen doesn't mountain bike. She comes from triathlon, and like the mountain bikey sections are scary for her, right? She doesn't ride that. That's her first time seeing it. So like, I would say like having a mountain bike background, I think makes some of those things less intimidating.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you have that. That's why I feel like.
And I have this picture of like wiping out and then having like 40 people like stampeding over me.
No, there was only one incident that I had like that. The woman got very mad, but that was her.
Mr. Rodish.
She was behind me. I was like, I couldn't do anything from going over to the bars. Like,
All right, what other questions?
Yeah.
We're
So
here.
how is this training race, I guess, different than a regular weekend race?
So the regular weekend race is divided into more categories. So you're racing just women in categories 4 and 5, whereas the training race is like, you're an adult, here's your race. But it's training in the sense, because I guess it's a weekday race, like
I don't think people take it.
different
seriously.
vibe. Yeah.
kind of more laid back.
They're not like going
Still-
for a series or something.
I would just,
There's no podiums.
Yeah.
Like,
and I will say that if, for those that haven't started cyclocross and might have more of like an endurance background, like cyclocross makes me pretty angry. It's intense. So like the first time you do it, it's definitely type 2 fun.
Mhm.
Like your heart, your breath, like your body is gonna be, but it'll get you in shape for sure. And there's its own fun to it because of that. So I found that I was not warming up enough. And I've been trying to be better about that. Like when you see the people spinning, I used to always think it was crazy to watch people like spinning intense. But
Yeah.
this is one sport where you actually need that because you need to get your body past that, oh crap, I'm really stressed, and into like, okay,
Yeah.
this is what we're doing mode faster than most of the other
Yeah.
sports I've done.
Yeah. Yeah, the warm up is so important, and that's a great point. That's something I'm taking more seriously this year. Instead of just like rolling up to the start line, I bought the little silly trainer that I used to make fun of people for. I have the little silly trainer to try because it is like it's right from the start. It's not like, again, coming from triathlon, you have the swim and it's like it's fast, but you're not all out. You have time to settle in. You can pee 8,000 times in the water and you're like good to go. This is like that whistle goes and it's on. So it's just different, but I do think it's like what I enjoyed out of it is like extending my racing season, something completely different, just a different stimulus than long and all day, and it's a lot of fun.
It's a super fun like vibe and crowd. Like everyone's there and everyone's feeling that pain. Like
Yeah.
and
And if you do like, as you get into it, and if you do a few races, it's the same crowd of people, which is awesome because you become friends with them. Like that's how I started. I knew like a couple people, and now you go there and you know most of the people. It's like the same group.
the courses like switch back on each other all the time. So although it's 2 miles long, it's all crammed into a small space. So it's really easy to go spectate. So
Mhm.
almost everywhere you are on the course, there's people out there cheering you
Mhm.
on and ringing a bell or blowing a horn.
And they can usually jump from one spot to another. So like it's great for people that want to watch you ride your bike.
Yeah.
Because it's a fun racing setup that you can see. My husband loves going to cross races, like heckling people, but he would never do it himself.
Yeah.
But he loves watching it.
Yeah.
And so it's
I think
really
he just likes to heckle.
Yeah, and some
He's a very nice
races,
heckler.
some races have like kind of designated spots I attend, like a lot of people tend to go to. It's like some crazy hill and you'll see tons of people there like yelling and cheering and horns and
Making silly comments.
Yeah.
Which makes you forget about, like, when you're laughing on course, you forget about what you're doing sometimes. Yeah.
all right, what other questions?
I have a question. So
Yeah.
you said there was a race this past weekend. Was that the first race of the season? Do you guys, is it usually like September?
Yeah,
Is it
so
season?
we started the end of August in Mass. Yesterday was the first race in the Connecticut series, which is Project Mayhem. So that's the first of 7. The 7th race in the Project Mayhem series is the first weekend. It's December 1st. And then the last race in this area is December 7th, I think is Ice Weasels, the 7th. So yeah, it's like end of August to beginning of December, and then the folks that do nationals do that like middle December.
Yeah, so it's typically, it was actually pretty early to start in August. They kind of extended and increased some races. So, it's extended into August now, but in general, it tends to be fall and winter.
Yeah.
So the River Valley Series in Massachusetts has 2 races in August, or because one in August and one Labor Day weekend, so they're very early,
Yeah,
but.
Right, yeah, cross is more supposed to be like crappy weather, freezing,
Yeah.
to like wet and muddy.
They're
like,
hard when it's hot outside.
That's kind of what
Yeah.
I look for, which is really
Yeah.
different.
and pretty much like just about every weekend there's a race on Saturday and Sunday. It's so that's like there's plenty of options if the dates we're throwing at don't work for you.
I think for me, because I typically avoid fall because of my other activities. I didn't know about the August stuff, so
Yeah.
that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Or August, September, could kind
Yep.
of fill in that gap or warm me up for my.
Yeah.
sport.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
The River Valley Series is Massachusetts, and it's all on like the 91 corridor. and it
That
includes
Northampton
like-
E.
Treehouse, and it's probably the furthest one away in Deerfield.
Yeah, it's like Springfield, Holyoke, Deerfield. They
They're not in
added
Chicopee this
Chicopee,
year.
but I talked to a guy at Blunt Park and they didn't get the approval, so it might be back at Blunt Park.
Oh, they're
But
gonna have a second one at Blunt Park?
he didn't know what he was gonna do. He's like, I just got this email.
Yeah, they had ghosts at Amherst, but I think, I didn't hear anything about what happened, but it was so wet and muddy last year, I'm
They have
betting
a
they did.
$20,000 insurance claim on the property.
Yeah.
Cause
I was
we
there, I-
destroyed it.
And it was damaged.
Yeah, where was that?
From the trail.
UMass Amherst.
Campus.
Oh.
Last year we had a lot of rainy days and that's another good thing. This happens rain or shine. They do not care. It can be pouring rain and 10 degrees and the race will happen.
I would assume like thunderstorms would probably cancel it.
Probably.
Yeah.
But
haven't
I mean,
seen
we
one.
raced in pouring rain so many times
Like,
last
it's
year.
hard
Yeah. So that's something else. Just to keep in mind. People love the mud. But yeah, that's why UMass, because there's like a $20,000
I-
claim.
Without knowing them, I was guessing that's what it was.
I'm sure you were welcome back. All right, other questions?
When Brooks asked me again about Macmoodus, and I'm like, no, it's not gonna happen.
Well,
State's not gonna like that.
for the practice or for a race?
For a
Do
race,
you want the race there?
like, eventually they would love to, but I think it's gonna be hard to.
That's why it's hard to find venues for this stuff, because it's like, yeah, we may completely just trash your piece of property.
I mean,
And you have to be
you-
okay with it.
Yeah.
Or it won't be bad, but like still, even like yesterday was a dry sunny day, but like you're still riding into
The grass.
the ground.
Like that off
yeah.
camera section that we
Yeah.
talked about, the rut from last year is still there. I mean, they use that part of the course every single year, and we went out to pre-ride, the race promoter for that one. The 4 Thursdays leading up to the race, he has it open to ride. He'll meet you there and show you the course, and it's spray painted on the ground. You can mostly follow it. But like, it's like, oh, it's that same off camber. I don't know, I might send it the other direction this year. We have.
It's gonna be a thing.
Yeah. So it's tough on the properties for sure. Other questions? Cool. So feel free always to send me a message if you have more questions as you're processing this all throughout the week. Happy to hop on a phone call too. Like I said, one of us is going to probably be at any race you decide to go to. So friendly face, stage 110 is welcome for everyone. And let us know if hopefully you come to some of the stuff we're doing, but if you choose something else, let us know so we know to look out for you.
And just, going on people's, I don't know what type of racing experience you have. When we say the tent is open, there's often like some sort of snacks, food that people share. There's, Brian always has, at the races we have, he has a mechanic station. So if you have something that doesn't feel right with your bike, like when my handlebars like flipped around on the practice lap, you can go and they will help you out and get things ready.
And we have like team trainers, like there is stuff that like we do have that. You can steal the kids' candy. There's a lot of perks. A lot of perks. They came up to me yesterday, Huey and Ian. Hunter, he won't let me have a Sour Patch. Can I have a Sour Patch? I'm like, I don't know. Can you have a Sour Patch? Sure, I don't know. But
Children.
no, so, and that's like, there will be like a whole row of tents at every race, all the different teams, people go and set up, bring a lawn chair. If you plan on hanging out. Food trucks, I think tends to be more of a thing. And we're trying at most of the races, I think, this year. So,
Yeah, with ice cream, Tallman coming back and another good food truck. in Vegas for
Are they gonna, I guess it doesn't matter, race in the morning, but I'd say we're gonna stay into the afternoon.
Oh, I know.
any other questions on Zoom?
Is it obvious where to go on Wednesday? Or where to meet?
The Haddam Neck Fair. Yeah, it's like a main entrance and you'll probably see our cars parked.
Just drive down the road till you see cars.
Yeah. And there'll be, Wednesday is also like a stage 1 practice. So like we are gonna be there, but there will be other folks there too, not just the handful of us that show
And they'll
up.
probably,
Um,
if they haven't taped, they'll probably be taped.
Yeah, they'll be working on the course too. It'll be a good behind the scenes and how much goes into putting one of these things on.
Thank you.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. Good seeing you. Abby, do you have any other questions?
No, I'm good. Sorry, I'm preparing dinner while we're
All
going
good.
on.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Well, you guys have a great night on Zoom. All right. Bye.